Good morning to all and welcome to Byju's. Hope I'm audible as well as visible to you all, right? So I am Basavaraj. So we'll continue from where we have left yesterday regarding biodiversity. We'll wait for a minute or so and then we will start with the classes. So, but confirm that I'm audible as well as visible to you all, right? Done. Okay. So yesterday we made an effort in understanding a good concepts of biodiversity. It may be about the conventions, or it may be about something which is associated with the global perspectives like declarations, etc., right? So these international conventions are very, very important, like the sites, the CMS. So whenever when you're writing your biodiversity, you should remember that the important conventions for biodiversities, international conventions, one is the sites, second one is CMS, one is sites, CMS, then the third one is CBD, Convention on Biological Diversities. So three important conventions are there for biodiversity: international, sites, CMS, CBD. And within CBD we have two protocols: Cartagena Protocol and Nagoya Protocol. Cartagena Protocol and Nagoya Protocol. This is how you have to make a skeleton. The moment when you're writing anything on the biodiversity part, you should keep that a framework that this international approach is with reference to biodiversity as three conventions and two protocols. Three conventions and two protocols, right? So once you make the framework, then it becomes easy for you to revise them and continue your approach. So that is international one. And in the national, we come across the acts, the policies which have been framed with reference to the international touch there. Like India is a not only member of CBD, it has ratified also. So hence we have implemented Biodiversity Act in the year 2002. And not only that, we also have many legislations to protect the biodiversities. And India has also set up many protected networks, like more than 100 national parks are there, wildlife sanctuaries are there, biosphere reserves are there, right? So which make an effort in protecting and conserving the biodiversities in the context of India. Is it clear? So keeping the things in the mind, we'll continue from where we have left. So yesterday, when we started the initiation on biodiversity of India, I told you India is very rich in biodiversity because of its geographical location and climatic factors. Geographical location and climatic factors. So climatic factors means the monsoon type of climate, the tropical type of climate, largest areas, and varied surface topographies, like mountains are there, deserts are there, plateaus are there, valleys are there, hills are there, plain areas are there. So varied landform, surface configuration is not uniform. It varies from one area to another area. And that makes to have different type of species adapted to the particular environmental conditions there. So hence India is very rich in biodiversity because of its geographical location and the climatic factors. Plus its evolution is also unique thing. That is, when Indian plate collided with the Eurasian plate, that is the oldest one, the youngest one. And that is where we come across the India shares two biogeographical realms of the world. Two biogeographical realms of the world. And that's why many species are there in India which are endemic, which have evolved over a period of a time. And this is what I told yesterday. Mammals, amphibians, plants, reptiles into India with percentage of 12%, 56%, 33%, etc. So these all are native, we say endemic to India. or endemic to India. And in that, we made an effort in understanding the biodiversity with reference to biosphere reserves. And I told that India has 18 biosphere reserves. And this is the location of that. And those biosphere reserves which are in the news, you have to make notes on that. Maybe its core area, maybe about which state it is and why it is in the news. If these biosphere reserves are in the news, then you have to make notes on what is there in its core area, which national parks or which sanctuary is there. Then second one is why it is in the news. Why it is in the news. Third one is the places where it is, which state, which states it is there. So if you keep these things in the mind, then I don't think you will have any difficulty. So make current affairs of 1 to 2 years regarding the places. Regarding the places, I have given you the list of all 18 biosphere reserves. Apart from this, I told that out of 18 biosphere reserves, 12 biosphere reserves are classified as the World Network of Biosphere Reserve. World Network of Biosphere Reserve. And the recent edition is Panna, that is 2020. Panna was the recent edition. Right. Now, if any new biosphere reserves is included in the world network, then that can become your important for prelims. Right. Now, I told something about the biosphere reserves. Now, the next point to be discussed here. So here we will have more factual parts. More factual parts. The next one is about Bunny grassland. Bunny grassland is the largest grassland of Asia. It is the largest grassland of Asia. Grassland of Asia. And this Bunny grassland is in the state of Gujarat. It is in the state of Gujarat, that is Kutch region. In the state of Gujarat. Gujarat, that is Kutch region. Now this Bunny grassland is referred as juxtapose. Juxtapose means overlapping. It is overlapping of two wetlands. It is overlapping of two wetlands. Now what are those two wetlands? One is grassland. Two wetlands are there. The grasslands means these bunnies which are there in that areas. And second one is the coastal saline water. The coastal saline water, that is overlapping of, apologies, overlapping of two ecosystems. Overlapping of two ecosystems. One is grassland and second one is wetland. Apologies for that. Kutch region, and it is overlapping of two ecosystems. Two ecosystems. One is grassland and second one is wetland. So it is the largest grassland in Asia. Largest grassland in Asia. And it makes the requirement of 45% of pastures of Gujarat. It makes the requirement of 45% of pastures of the state. Now, in this grassland, a prominent community stays, Maldhari communities. So, in this grassland, Maldhari communities stays. Maldari community stays there. And these Maldari communities are pastoral communities. Pastoral communities. And they keep buffalo as their livelihood. They rear buffalo. They rear buffalo, right? Now, this bunny grassland has two major issues. Two issues were there. The first issue is associated with encroachment of the bunny grassland. The first major issue was illegal encroachment of the bunny grassland. And this illegal encroachment was done for construction of buildings, for agriculture, etc. So illegal encroachment was there. Then Maldari communities approached to NGT. Maldari communities. A PIL was filed. Maldari communities after the PIL, that is Supreme Court, when the PIL was filed, and Maldari communities also approached NGT. So after this, the National Green Tribunal. Now remember, National Green Tribunal is the highest judicial court with reference to environmental concern. I'm repeating, National Green Tribunal is the highest judicial authority with reference to environmental concern. So, National Green Tribunal, it passed an order in the year 2021 that the Maldari communities have the Maldari communities have the right to conserve the bunny grassland. So Maldari communities have the right to conserve the bunny grassland, and this they have passed keeping the reference of Forest Reserve Act of 2006. Forest Reserve Act of 2006. So this is the first issue. Then the second issue associated with the bunny grassland is that alien species. Now here the alien species is the Prosopis juliflora. Now this Prosopis juliflora was deliberately introduced, purposefully introduced. It was deliberate or purposeful introduction. It was deliberate or purposefully introduced. Why? To protect the grasslands from the saline water. To protect the grassland. Protect grassland from saline water. It was by government itself. To protect the grassland from the saline water. As it does not have much enemies, and because of its characteristics, this Prosopis juliflora has covered large amount of areas there. And this has created major threats. This juliflora, that is, we refer that as bubble tree. It has created major threats there. Major threat is because of the large tree, the roots penetrate deeper. So water depletion, groundwater depletion was there. Water depletion. Then second major threat associated with that was, as it stores the water, as it holds the water, sometimes the saline water which reaches there, or maybe due to excess of the water which is reaching to the surface by capillary action, so the area become more saline, salinity increased rather than decreasing, the salinity increased here, salinity increased. Then third one is, these trees when they become dry, they were threat for more fires. So threat of fire was increased. Fire was increased. And they created many environmental concerns. They created many environmental concerns. Many environmental concerns there. Now, because of this, government is making its efforts now to remove or reduce the alien species. So these are the two major issues associated with the bunny grasslands. And in this bunny grasslands, they keep a buffalo, and this buffalo is very unique type of buffalo, and we refer that as bunny buffalo. So this is Juliphelus flora. So this is the alien species. Alien species. See, this has covered almost all the areas there, which has become a threat. Right? It has become a threat. And they have the buffalo called as bunny buffalo. Bunny buffalo. And the unique thing about bunny buffalo is, in the present context of global warming and climate change, we always find a fluctuation of temperatures are there and scarcity of water is there. So this bunny buffalo tolerates water scarcity. Tolerate water scarcity. See, in geography, you have studied that buffaloes are seem to be the best breed only when there is humid climatic conditions. Humid climatic conditions. But this buffalo can survive in the water scarcity, and also it can survive in harsh climate. It can survive harsh climate. Harsh climate. So this is something about the bunny grassland. Now, why it is in the news? Why it is in the news? These are the two things. One is illegal encroachments, and second one is alien species. Apart from that, state government has approached the center, and this request of center was accepted. This request of state government was accepted. What request? The request was to introduce cheetahs in the bunny grassland. To introduce cheetahs in bunny grassland. So maybe this year or the end of this year, they make all the plans to introduce the cheetahs. Already we have introduced the cheetahs in Kuno, Palpur, in Madhya Pradesh, Kuno National Park. Already we have introduced the African cheetahs there. Now there is a proposal to introduce the cheetahs in this, and which is accepted by the central government. And this cheetahs will be introduced under CAMPA. So when I take forest, I'll explain that. Compensatory Afforestation Management Fund. It will be introduced under CAMPA. Compensatory Afforestation Management Fund. So this CAMPA I'll take up in the forest. So don't get much confused. Don't get much stress. The CAMPA part I'll take. Remember that the state government has proposed to introduce the cheetahs in the bunny grassland, and this has been accepted by the center. And this cheetahs will be introduced under the CAMPA proposals. Under the CAMPA proposal. CAMPA means compensatory afforestation. Compensatory afforestation. Right. This is something about bunny grassland and why it is in the news. Sometimes they may ask. Now, next one is the Shola forest, a unique type of forest. Now, this Shola forest, it has the term which is derived from Tamil. It is derived from the word Solai. Solai. Tamil word solai. Solai means tropical rainforest. Solai means tropical rainforest. Rainforest. Now, this solai or tropical rainforest, a unique, pristine forest, which is found in 3 states of Western Ghats, which is found in the Western Ghats, in the states of Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. Western Ghats, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. And this is unique type of ecosystem or vegetation. It is unique type of vegetation because here we find the trees are above 1500 meters, 1500 meters above the sea level. The trees are 1500 meters above the sea level. And not only the trees, the patch of trees are separated by grasslands. Trees above 1500 and separated by grassland. So combination of tree and grasslands are there. So it is a combination of tree and grasslands. Tree and grasslands. In the ratio 1:5. Tree means forest. Trees, big trees, and grasslands. So it is a combination of the tree and grassland in the ratio 1:5. 1:5. Right. Now, apart from that, this area is endemic and rich in biodiversity. So it is very rich in endemism. Endemic species. And it is very rich in biodiversity. Now here, if you see the trees are stunted. Short trees are there. The trees are stunted. That is, short trees are there. And not only they are short, their leaves are fleshy. The leaves are fleshy, which store more water. Store more water. So hence, it is also referred as overhead water tanks. Store water. So hence, it is also referred as overhead water tank. Overhead water tank. And this region is source of rivers. So it is a source of a river there, from where the river originates. The rivers originate. Now, apart from that, these leaves changes their colors when they become mature. Leaves changes their color. So these leaves changes the color when they become mature. So this is some characteristics about the Shola forests. But apart from this, the Shola forests also have a threat. They also have a threat. Now, what are the threats associated with the Shola forests? Now, the threats associated with the Shola forest is invasion of alien plants like eucalyptus, babool, acacia, etc. Second, this area, as it is very suitable for growing commercial crops. So much of the forest is cleared for growing crops like coffee, spices in that area. So there is encroachment. Third one is, in this area we find illegal mining activities are done. Illegal mining activities are done. Mining is done. Fourth, deforestation. Large amount of deforestation. And fifth, because of droughts and human activities, this region has become vulnerable to fire. Vulnerable to fire. So, in spite of having the pristine and unique thing, it is having the major issues. Now, why this is also in the news? Why this is also in the news? The reason is that if you are reading about the Ramsar wetlands, recently 5 Ramsar wetlands were declared from India, and out of these 5, 2 are from this Shola forests. 2 wetlands in Tamil Nadu. 2 wetlands of Tamil Nadu have this. So they may ask something about the Shola forest. Why? Because the new wetland which has been implemented, which has been included in the Ramsar wetland, has the location in this Shola forest. Has the location in the Shola forest. See, they receive heavy rainfall, but instead of that, they are having a drought-like condition because of changing climatic patterns, changing weather patterns, and they have fleshy leaves because of the cold environment which is there. As their temperature is very, very less. Just remember that when the Mediterranean type of climate we discussed, sclerophyllous type of vegetation, cold and receiving rainfall. So to protect themselves in the extreme cold condition, they have the fleshy leaves which prevent them from damages. Right. Now, man-animal conflict. Now, we always know that man-animal conflict is always seen not only in India but in many parts of the world. In many parts of the world. Now, man-animal conflict is considered as one of the major reason. One of the major reason for loss of biodiversity. Loss of biodiversity. And yesterday I told that another reason for loss of biodiversity is alien species. So two major concerns. One is man-animal conflict, and second one is alien species, which is also responsible for loss of biodiversities. Now, during the man-animal conflict, the wild animals enters into the settlements. So whenever when we say this, whenever when we say man-animal conflict, the wild animals, they enter into the settlements, or we say agricultural lands. So where there is a clash between the wild animals and humans and their livestock. So where it will be having clash between them. And in this clash, we also find that injuries will be there, maybe for the animal, or maybe for the livestock resources, or maybe for human beings. Then it can create losses, socioeconomic losses, like agriculture fields are completely destroyed by the elephants. So this is where we have to understand that. And if you are reading current affairs, last week there was a reference that in Kerala, Wayanad, an elephant entered into the settlement, where we find a 47-year-old person was killed by that. And in Maharashtra, we find many tigers, they have been out of their areas, and where we find encounters with them. Cheetahs encounters, leopards in the agricultural fields where they are eating. So this is where we have to understand that we have many documents also, like man eating tiger of Uttarakhand, man eating tiger of Maharashtra. So where we come across the man animal conflicts. Now here the wild animal is also killed, livestock can also be killed, and in turn human beings, when they are attacked by the wild animals, they can also be killed. Now What is the reason for man animal conflict? There has to be some reason for the man animal conflict. Why they leave their habitat? The first one is destruction of their habitat. The first one is destruction of their habitat. So when their habitats are destructed, they don't have sufficient place for their staying. Maybe there will be a shortage of water, maybe there will be shortage of grasses, maybe there will be shortage of the prey. So that's why they leave area and enter into human settlement. Destruction of their habitats. Then encroachment of the habitats. Encroachment of habitats. Encroachment of habitat. Maybe by different activities, we encroach their habitats. Then apart from that, these areas, when we talk about the conditions of droughts and the climatic perspectives, we find fires are dominant. Fires are dominant. So these forests, that what we refer them as forest fires. So because of forest fires, to protect themselves, they leave their natural habitat and move down to other areas. Accidentally, they enter into the human settlements. Then, if any invasive species enters there, then invasive species will make the native species to leave that area because of its high dispersal characteristics and because of its phenotypic plasticity, where it adjusts to that. So invasive species which will make the natural species to leave their area. Natural species, they leave their area. Then maybe the density of animals have increased there. Population, the density, if the densities of tigers increases, then they will start outside to catch the prey. Increase in the density. Increase in density of species. Then sixth, when we say, it may be due to natural reasons like earthquake, volcanic activities. Natural reasons like earthquake, volcano, floods, etc. So to protect themselves, they move outside of that areas. Natural reasons are there. Or sometimes due to droughts. More specifically, during the droughts, we will always find shortage of water, and shortage of pastures, etc. Then introduction of new species there, like introduction of cheetahs, introduction of tiger in that areas. So they will not make coexistence. So introduction of species. A new species which has been introduced there. Or maybe due to urbanization in that areas. Or maybe due to extension of agriculture in that areas, illegal agricultural activities. So these are the possible reasons where the wild animals, they leave their habitat, and accidentally they enter into human settlements. Or sometimes they meet with an accident, like a bison hit by a train. Accidents like train accidents. train accidents, bison which is hit by a train. So many incidences we come across that, right? So yes, cheetahs, when they are introduced, they are having plus and minus points. We will discuss that. Right. Now, this is something which is called as man and animal conflict. Now, the moment when we say man and animal conflict, this is why it occurs. Now, what are the impact of that? What are the impact of man animal conflict? It means losses. If you calculate the livestock, it is always affected there. Buffaloes, cattles, etc. So it will affect the livestock losses. That is injury and deaths. Again, human beings also have that. The area where the human settlements are there. So they also will have human injuries and deaths. Injuries and deaths. Third, when the animal enters, take this elephant, when it enters into agricultural fields, then it will make loss of crops, loss of standing crops, loss of standing crops. Then there is possibility that during the encounter, the animal itself can be killed. Possibility that animal, that is wild animal, may be killed, there. Then we also find that it can create a trauma among the people. If any person sees the cheetah in their or any leopard in their premises, it will create a trauma or mental stress. Trauma or mental stress. Mental stress. So it means that the impact of the man animal conflicts are, we say it will create huge socio-economic losses. Huge socio-economic losses are there. Right. So we come across all those. It can be elephant, it can be lion, it can be cheetah, where collisions of them are there. So generally, when we are destructing their habitat, we are fragmenting their habitat, and where they come across such type of issues. Right. So because of this, yes, chaos in that area. So that's what trauma or mental stress in that. So all these are referred as the impact of man animal conflict. Now, a report which was given with reference to that. So this is how the man animal conflicts are seen. It enters into residential areas, bison entering into that, leopard entering into the fields. So injuries to the human beings, injuries to themselves as well. Now, a report which was released by United Nations Environment Program and worldwide funds combinedly, United Nations Environment Program and worldwide fund, a report which was released. Here. So, title of the report is "The Future for All: The Need for Human Wildlife Coexistence." In that, it has made that one of the main threat for long-term survival of world's most iconic species. Iconic species means elephants, tigers, lion, cheetah, etc. We refer them as iconic species. So there is a major threat to these. Then it's a conflict related to death affects more than 75% of the world's cat species. Cat means these big cats like leopards, cheetahs, tigers, etc. Big cats. Global wildlife population have decreased to 68% since 1970 due to conflict. See this, 68% has been decreased. Complete eradication is not possible. You can't completely stop. So you have to reduce its impact. Complete eradication is not there. So we find electric fences have been there, electrocation has been done, but they are not the sustainable solutions. They are not the sustainable solutions, right? Then 35% of Indian tigers, 40% of African lions, 70% of elephants of Asia and Africa are outside protected areas. Why? Because increasing in their density. Their numbers have increased. Numbers have increased, and we have not increased the protected areas. Numbers have increased, and we have not increased the protected areas. Is it clear? Not increase the protected areas. Then in India, human-animal conflict resulting in killing of 5,000 elephants and 2361 peoples between this. So this is a data which is very, very alarming. Alarming data. Alarming data. Complete eradication is not possible. Eradication means sometimes when we make the acts, Wildlife Act of 1972, Biodiversity Acts, when we implement them, or electrocation or fencing to the agriculture field or fencing to the areas are there. So in spite of that, we can't make zero man-animal conflict. The best is you can reduce that. You can't completely you can't completely remove the man-animal conflict. It will be there, but the number should be less, because we have reached to such a population stage that the number of settlements are almost all closer to the forest areas. So it is very difficult to eradicate that. You can't eradicate man animal conflict, only you can reduce the numbers there. Then India will be the most affected by human wildlife conflict. Why? Because of population and because of settlements. Because of population which is increased, because of settlement which are there, and because of large amount of agricultural activities in that areas. Populations, settlements which have been closer to that areas, and agricultural activities where leopards hunting to the farmers who are working in that areas. So we find large deaths will be there from India itself. So this is something about tigers population is increased. See, when we talk about tiger population increased, this is with reference to India. I'm not talking about only one species. So we are talking about the combined species. In India, it has been decreased. Sorry, it has increased, but in other countries, it has been decreased. So general view is that their biodiversities are decreasing. Population, numbers, human population. See, when we say nomadic and pastoralists, nomadics are a type of pastoralists. Nomadics are type of pastoralists who always keep on moving. So generally, we don't have a very clear-cut differentiation between nomadic and the pastoralist. Nomadic means they keep on moving. Keep on moving. When we say nomadic pastoralists, so nomadic pastoralists means the people who are moving from one area to another region along with their livestock. In India, we are having such activities which have been done by Gujjars, Bakkarwalas, then we are Bhutias, Gaddis in Himalayas. I'm repeating, in India, this type of pastoral activities where they keep on moving from one area to another region, we find them. Transhumance activities. Now here, when we talk about the communities, Maldari communities, they own their buffaloes and they keep in that areas. Nomadic means keep on moving from one area to another areas. Is it clear? Now, conservation efforts in the context of the India's biodiversity. Conservation efforts in India's biodiversity. We have the conservation efforts which can be referred as legal conservation. Legal, that is national approach. National approach. And we also have international approach. International approach in conserving. Now, how international approach? Example, you take conventions. conventions. India is a part of CBD, Convention on Biological Diversity. India is a member and signatory of CITES. Right. So by that we are implementing the international convention to protect the biodiversities. So the conservation efforts can be done national ways through acts, policies, etc. And in international approach, we find them, we find them in the conventions and protocols. So legislative and regulatory measures. So in the context of India, Indian Forest Act of 1927 is there, and then Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So we'll discuss that in detail in the last part. Now this has been amended. This has been amended in the year 2022. It has been amended in the year 2022. Wildlife Protection Act talks about creating or making many protected areas. It is responsible for creating many policies, creating protected areas, and it also talks about conservation and protection of species. Right. So we'll discuss that what is the Wildlife Act. CBD means Convention on Biological Diversity. Yesterday I have discussed that. CITES is an international convention which talks about the reducing the impact of illegal trade on the endangered species. Right. Apart from that, Article 48 and Article 51. Right. So we say directive principles of state policy, DPSP. So there also the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest life. Right. So these are the part of DPSPs, directive principles of state policies. So there also we find, right. So many ways the conservation and protection of biodiversities are there. Right. Then Forest Conservation Act of 1980. So I'll discuss that when I take forest. And then we are having Environmental Protection Act of 1986. I'll discuss this when I take pollution. Then Coastal Regulation Zone of 1991. So this is a separate topic, 20 minutes discussion. I'll discuss on this Coastal Regulation Zone. And this has been amended, or it has been changed many times. And last amendment was done in the year 2018. So it is demarcating the coastal areas, demarcating the coastal areas into four zones for regulating and restricting the activities. So we'll discuss that in detail when I take coastal regulation zones. We'll discuss that because India has a long coastline. And then environment impact assessment, EIA, and this also I'll discuss in detail. Environment impact assessment, that is the impact of the proposed project, on the environment. It is done before the setting of project. Now this was again in the news because when they made the changes of environment impact assessment from 2006 to 2020. So we'll discuss the environment impact assessment as well. Then Biodiversity Act of 2002. India has ratified CBD. India has ratified Convention on Biological Diversity. And hence India has to implement Biodiversity Act of 2002. And India is implementing this Biodiversity Act through national policies and acts. And for that to implement this, we created National Biodiversity Authority to implement this. It is implementing through National Biodiversity Authority. National Biodiversity Authority. National Biodiversity Authority. And within this, it has created a provision of decentralized approach. Within this, it has created a provision of decentralized approach. Decentralized approach. That is three tiers. Three tiers. The first one is the National Biodiversity Authority at the central level. At the central level. And second one is at the state level also we need something. At the state level we are having state board. State board. So here always remember, so the state board, okay, state board is at the state level. Is at the state level. And then at the local level, biodiversity management committee. At the local level, biodiversity management committee. Biodiversity management committee. So it is a decentralized approach with these three bodies: national, state, and local. Now, this National Biodiversity Authority, it advises the centers. It advises the centers. Center. The states. Now, what advices it does? It advises the features of the biodiversity or CBD, Convention of Biodiversity, has to be implemented properly. So it advises with reference to conservation, protection. It advises with reference to conservation, protection of the biodiversity in their areas. And it also talks about the sharing the benefits arising out of usage of the resources. Sharing the benefit. Sharing the benefits arising out of the resources. Arising out of resources. Just remember the three features of that. So along with conservation and protection of biodiversity, sharing the benefits which are arising out of usage of the resources. So hence, access to the biological resources of the country by which they can use them for different parts, like making medicines, Ayush, where we have heard, medicines and all, cosmetics and all, right? Access to biological resources, conservation and sustainable biodiversities, and making the benefits to be reached to all, sharing the benefits, traditional knowledge. Sometimes when we talk about usage of them in Ayurvedic and all, so the traditional knowledge has to be shared with the platform. Protection and rehabilitation of the threatened species by constructing or creating many national parks, etc. So this is how we are implementing the Biodiversity Act of 2000, Convention Biological Diversity Act, within which the Biodiversity Act of 2002, which is implementing with a decentralized approach with three tiers, right? Then we have many policies, projects, and programs. Policies, projects, and programs. Among them, when we talk about the policies and project, we come across a Project Tiger. Now, Project Tiger, which was initiated in the year 1973, it is a centrally sponsored program of Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change. I'm repeating, it is the initiation of Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change. Now, in the context of India, It is an elaborate effort of one person called as Kailash Sankala. Kailash Sankala. So he made more efforts and persuaded the prime minister and the people in that region who were making protecting. And because of the effort of Kailas Sankala, government took a serious action and protect the tigers. Protect the tigers. And hence, because of his effort, the Project Tiger was launched in the year 1973. And this was implemented in the first tiger reserve. This was implemented in the first tiger reserve. So any idea which is that first tiger reserve where it was implemented? And Kailash Sankala is referred as India's father of the tiger reserve, or he is referred as Tiger Man of India. Tiger Man of India, or he is referred as father of Project Tiger. He is referred as father of Project Tiger. Right. And this was introduced for the first time in 1973 in Jim Corbett National Park. Jim Corbett National Park. Right. And it is the centrally sponsored scheme. Now, the major ideas or major objective of Project Tiger is that to maintain their habitation, to maintain or protect the tiger habitations. Right. So there may be many issues with the availability of water which may not be there. Availability of the prey may not be there. Maybe health issues, maybe some disease which are spreading there. So it is to maintain the protect tiger habitation, providing them timely medications, providing them timely inspection, providing them proper arrangement of water, etc. Apart from that, apart from that, to make a check on man-animal conflict, to make a check on man-animal conflict, animal conflict, where near the tiger reserves, near the tiger reserves. And third one is to maintain the population of the tiger reserve, ideal population of tiger reserve. Maintain population means tiger population. Maintain the tiger population in the tiger reserve. So that's where the Jim Corbett National Park is the first one where the Project Tiger was introduced. Then to make it a legal status, to make it a statutory or legal status, in the year 2005, in the year 2005, National Tiger Conservation Authority was created. It is a statutory body which provided legal status to Project Tiger, which provided legal status to Project Tigers. Right. National Tiger Conservation Authority. It provided a statutory status, legal status to the Project Tigers there. Right. Then what else it does? It fosters. It means it helps. It helps the coordination between center and state to maintain the tiger reserve. It fosters the coordination between the center and state for maintaining the tiger reserves. Fosters the coordination, maintains the coordination between centers and the states. It addresses the livelihood interest of local people. Addresses the livelihood. Livelihood means their daily approaches like economic activities, like agricultural activities, providing them employment opportunities. Addresses livelihood of the fringe communities who are staying in that area near the core areas, right? So these are the one who are surrounding the tiger reserves, right? So allowing them for certain types of activities like agricultural activities or small forest resources which can be taken from them. So this is what the Project Tiger and National Tiger Conservation Authority were seeing. Now next is in India, when we see the tiger reserves are there. So we find at present 54 tiger reserves are there in the different tiger ranges. Now there are certain tiger reserves which are in the news, maybe for man-animal conflict or maybe for some other issues. Now take an example of the tiger reserve here, Bandhavgarh. Let me take this Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve. Right now, this Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve, in which state it is there? Which state it is there? Right now, this Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve, yes, Madhya Pradesh. It is known for the first tiger reserve in India, which started safari. The African safaris, which we see, the same type of safari was allowed. So this is the first tiger reserve in India, which allowed the safari in the tiger reserve. Right. Then again, we come across a city in Maharashtra called as Nagpur. So Nagpur is a region where it connects many tiger reserves, which connects many tiger reserves of India. It connects many tiger reserves. And hence Nagpur is referred as the tiger capital of India. Right. So many students make a mistake of mentioning Madhya Pradesh or any city of Madhya Pradesh as the tiger capital. It is not because of number of tiger population which has increased. Now, if you see the tiger population, Madhya Pradesh followed by Karnataka is there. So the tiger capital of India is not in Karnataka, neither in Karnataka nor in Madhya Pradesh. It is Nagpur of Maharashtra. Maharashtra. Why? Because it connects many places there. It connects many tiger reserves. So such types of questions can be seen here. So in Maharashtra, many are there. Tadoba is there. Then we have many tiger reserves which are there. Many are there. Many are there. But because of its connectivity, it is referred as Nagpur is not a tiger reserve. Nagpur is a city. Nagpur is a city. Is it clear? So Nagpur is referred as the tiger capital of India. Right. Now, in the context of India, the last few tiger reserves which were created, the one was the Sri Velupattur Meghamalai Tiger Reserve, and it is the largest tiger reserve of Tamil Nadu. Largest tiger reserve of Tamil Nadu, and it is the fifth tiger reserve of the state. Fifth tiger reserve of the state. It has been formed by merging these two, Meghamalai and Grizzled Square. It is formed by this two, merging these two, Meghamalai Wildlife Reserve and Grizzled Sanctuary. Grizzled Wildlife Sanctuary. By merging these two. This tiger reserve has been done. Is it clear? Yes, the protection forces, they have been deployed under the Project Tiger. They have been deployed under the Project Tiger. Yes, they have been deployed. Then we have Guru Ghasidas National Park, which is the 53rd tiger reserve of India. Now this is in the district. It is in the district of Korea, Korea district. Korea district of Chhattisgarh. Now the very important aspect of this Guru Ghasidas National Park is it has created in this Chhattisgarh, but it makes the connectivity with the two tiger reserve. It was created to make the connectivity with two tiger reserves. So generally the habitation of the tigers are destroyed, so they always keep on moving. So it is like a corridor for the tiger movement. It has created to create a corridor for movement of the tigers, uninterrupted movement of tigers. And this is connecting the two tiger reserves. One is Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve, Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve, and second one is Palamau Tiger Reserve. Palamau Tiger Reserve. Right. So Guru Ghasidas is in Chhattisgarh, Bandhavgarh Tiger Reserve in Madhya Pradesh. And where do you find Palamau Tiger Reserve? Where do you find Palamau Tiger Reserve? Palamau Tiger Reserve. Where do you find this? It is connecting. It is connecting the Bandhavgarh to the Palamau Tiger Reserve. Is it clear? Right. So this Palamau Tiger Reserve is in the state of Jharkhand. See this region, Palamau Tiger Reserve, in the state of Jharkhand. Initially it was Bihar, now it is in the state of Jharkhand. Right. Right. Now Virangana Durgavati Tiger Reserve. So this is the 54th Tiger Reserve of India. 54th Tiger Reserve of India. Right. So here the sanctuaries, wildlife sanctuaries has been converted. Virangana Durgavati. Now this consists of the core area. The core area, uninterrupted area. Core area consists of the two wildlife sanctuaries. Two wildlife sanctuaries. The one is the Virangana Wildlife Sanctuary. One is the Virangana Durga Mata Wildlife Sanctuary, or Durgavati, Virangana Durgavati Wildlife Sanctuary. Yes, it is from Chhattisgarh only. Chhattisgarh only. Sorry, Jharkhand only. Sorry, Jharkhand only. Right. And second one is Naura Devi Wildlife Sanctuary. Naura Devi Wildlife Sanctuary. So merging these two, we have created the 54th Tiger Reserve. Now there is a proposal. There is a proposal to create the 55th Tiger Reserve, and that will be in the state of Goa. Madai Tiger Reserve. Proposal. It is not yet proposal for the 55th Tiger Reserve in the context of India. Right. Then tiger census. Tiger census is done once in 4 years. Once in 4 years. So generally we refer them as cycles of tiger census. The first one was done in the year 2006. The second in the year 2010. Third 2014, and fourth was 2018. The fifth cycle of tiger census is done in the year 2022. It is done by many methodologies. It is done by many methodologies, right? Many methodologies were used, like using the radio collars, strips, etc. Right? M strips, radio collars, etc. Many were used in that. Now, when we make a data of 2022 census, they calculated the number of tigers which has highest number of tigers, that is maximum numbers which they counted. The maximum number which they counted was 3925 by different methodology. And the minimum number what they calculated, the minimum number what they counted based on the data, it was 3167, and hence the tiger numbers is taken average of these two. which is 3682. So hence the number of population of tiger is average of maximum and minimum, that is 3682. 3682, right? And there has been a total increase of 161% compared to 2006. Compared to 2006, right? So if you see the datas, the numbers have been increased very high. Highest is in Madhya Pradesh, second is in Karnataka. Highest is in Madhya Pradesh, second is Karnataka, then third we find in Uttarakhand, then fourth one is Maharashtra. Maximum counts, because different methodology were used to count that, so numbers will vary. We can't have accuracy like the human census, so that's why some have calculated that as 3925, some have calculated 3167, and the average of them is 3682. So hence this is an average of maximum and minimum values there, right? Now highest number of the tigers are found in Madhya Pradesh, followed by Karnataka, but the density of tiger is more in Jim Corbett, where the density of tigers is more, is highest in Jim Corbett. In Jim Corbett, right? So this is about some rough idea about the tiger census. Now, the moment when you talk about the tiger census, the data, India has currently 75% of the world tiger reserve. Central India, this is the data of 2022. Outcomes of the census. Indian tigers have classified into different zones. The central India, and the Shivalik Hills, central India, Shivalik Hills, and the Gangetic Plains witnessed a notable increase in the tiger population. We refer them as tiger zones. The largest tiger population is in Madhya Pradesh, followed by Karnataka, followed by Uttarakhand. It has alarmed that the tiger occupancy in Maharashtra has declined. Sorry, Western Ghats has declined. A significant decline were observed in the Wayanad landscape and in BR Hills, Biligiranga Hills. So these are the important outcomes of the tiger census, right? So don't confuse more numbers and density. More numbers means area is bigger. Now we have something called as International Big Cat Alliance. Now this was launched by India. It was launched by India in the year 2023 while announcing the tiger census. It was announcing the tiger census, launched in Mysore, announcing the tiger census. Mysore is in state of Karnataka. And the major objective of this International Big Cat Alliance launched by India is that conservation of 7 big cats, namely the tiger, lion, leopard, snow leopard, cheetah, jaguar, and puma. So it is conserving 7 big cats, not only in India, in all the world. It is international approach. It is to reach 97 range countries, covering the natural habitat of all these, making them. Then strengthening the global cooperation in efforts to conserve them. Global cooperation means with basis to knowledge, technology, methods to be shared to protect and conserve them. To be shared. Conserving the big cats and their habitats can provide a very prominent stability to the ecosystems, because these animal species, they are very important to maintaining the ecological balances. They are very important to maintain the ecological balance. Ecological balance of the ecosystem, right? So hence they are very significant. And apart from that, we always come across man animal conflicts are increasing. So in this man animal conflict, you should also make sure that the people who believe, who stay in the neighboring areas, they should not be having any problem associated with the habitat destruction. So this is what we refer as India's approach in the context of protecting and conservation of the big cats. Then there is, these are referred as the tiger landscapes of India. Tiger landscapes of India. Shivalik landscape, right? Northeastern landscape, Sundarban landscape, small one, Sundarban landscape. Then central Indian landscape, eastern landscape. Now they have found that in this Western Ghat landscape, the tiger numbers have decrease in the tiger landscape. But as in the center and Shivaliks, the numbers have increased. In these, we find the numbers have increased. The numbers have increased in those areas. Don't make in-depth analysis. Don't make research on that. So whatever data are there, the peripheral part will help you in writing or marking the prelims very easily. Then we have something called as CATS, Conservation Assured Tiger Standards. Now, what is this tiger or CATS is? There was a year when we say a St. Petersburg Declaration was there. St. Petersburg's Declaration on Tigers was there. And this was in the year 2010. And the major objective of St. Petersburg Declaration in the year 2010 was to double the tiger population. Double the tiger population in their 13 landscape countries. 13 landscape population. It was to double the tiger population, by 2020. By 2020. Right. Now, they started their work, and for that, they needed some of the tiger reserves, or they needed the tiger reserve to maintain certain standards. They needed the tiger reserves to maintain certain standards. Certain standards which can enhance the increase in the population. Standards which can enhance increasing the tiger population, tiger numbers, safety of the tiger population, etc. So these standards which were declared or which were to be maintained, which has to be seen, were in the year 2013. And these standards are referred as Conservation Assured Tiger Standards, which were the result of the St. Petersburg's Declaration on the Tigers. So any tiger reserves which maintains the standards, any tiger reserve which maintains the standards according to the international prospectus, which were declared to increase the double population. So such tiger reserves are referred as the tiger reserves which receive the accreditation of CATS, Conservation Assured Tiger Standards. It means that they have the standards of the global level which can help in increasing the tiger population. Now, in the context of India, 23 tiger reserves have received the CATS standards. And in the year 2023, the last 6 tiger reserves were received. So including this, including 6. The total number of tiger reserves in India, which has received the status of CATS, is 23. 23. And the last 6 were the Kali Tiger Reserve, Melghat, Pilibhit, Tadoba, Navegaon, and Periyar. Periyar. Right. Now, to make the project successful, they also established an award. They also established an award to encourage the work of doubling the tiger population. And this award, which was set up by the CATS with other collaboration, with other collaboration. And this award is referred as T into 2 award. T into 2 award. T into 2 award means tigers times 2. Tigers times 2. Now last year, that is in the year 2023, 3 tiger reserves in India received this award. 3 tiger reserves in India received this award. And here we have to understand that the 3 tiger reserves which received here, 2 tiger reserves, they are in 2 different states. The same tiger reserve in 2 different states. And that is what we refer them as Pench Tiger Reserve. Pench Tiger Reserve. Pench Tiger Reserve, which is spread in 2 states. Pench Tiger Reserve, which is spread in 2 states. Any idea in which 2 states? Any idea which states? Yes, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Maharashtra. So this is one, this is second. And the third tiger reserve, yes, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. And the third one is Satpura Tiger Reserve. Satpura Tiger Reserve. And again, Satpura Tiger Reserve in Madhya Pradesh. Madhya Pradesh. Perfect. Madhya Pradesh. So Pench Tiger Reserve is spread in 2 states. It is spread in 2 states, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. Right. Now, Terai Arc landscape. Now, remember, Terai Arc landscape, it is a long area of 810 kilometers. Right. And the ends of that is Yamuna River in the west and Bhagmati River in the east. Bhagmati River in the east. And this area is spread in the 2 countries, India and Nepal. India and Nepal. And when we talk about the states of India, so it is spread in the 3 states of India. 3 states of India. Right. So these 3 states of India are Bihar, Uttarakhand, and Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand. Now this area is known for many protected regions there. So this is having many national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, etc. Many protected areas are there. Apart from that, so here we find 3 flagship species are protected. 3 flagship species are protected, and they are the one horned rhino, second, Asiatic elephants, then tigers, Royal Bengal tigers. So three flagship species are protected. Now, what are these flagship species? So we discussed keystone species. So in the same way, we are having flagship species also. So what are these flagship species? So these flagship species, yes, these flagship species, they are in the verge of extinction. Verge of extinction. If we don't make proper conservation, if we don't make the proper measures to protect, and hence to draw the attention, of a people, to conserve these species, they are referred as the flagship species or ambassador species. They are made ambassador species. They are made as ambassadors, so that attentions of the people will be brought to protect and conserve these species. And such species, we refer them as the flagship species. So remember, flagship species are referred as ambassador species. Flagship species are also referred as ambassador species. So what are these flagship species? So these are the species which are in the verge of extinction, and they need large attention of the public, people, authorities, to conserve them because of their dwindling numbers, because of their areas of operations. So hence, to bring the attention and to make proper arrangement in the context of conserving them, they are referred as iconic species, they are referred as ambassador species, right? And three ambassador species are seen in the Terai arc landscape, that is Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, right? And this was also in the news in the last 4 or 5 months back, because of the tiger population which moved from one region to another region in that areas. Is it clear? Now here, this was in the news because of the only tiger reserve of Bihar, only tiger reserve of Bihar, which shares its boundary with Nepal. Only tiger reserve of Bihar, which shares its boundary with Nepal, was in the news. Now, which is that tiger reserve? Which is the tiger reserve? Which is perfect Valmiki Tiger Reserve. Valmiki Tiger Reserve, which shares the boundary with Nepal Tiger Reserve. Right. So this was in the news where they made a collaborative approach in protecting and conserving of those. Right. So remember, this only tiger reserve of Bihar, Valmiki Tiger Reserve, is a part of the Rai Arc landscape. Right. Then in the same way, we had data of the leopards also, which was in the year 2018. And here they found that the number of the leopards have increased from 7910 to 12.58. So it is 62% of increase from the last census of 2014. And we don't have the recent census. Right. So this, and the highest is in Madhya Pradesh, then Maharashtra, and third is Tamil Nadu. Now remember that Madhya Pradesh has the highest numbers of tigers. Yes, Madhya Pradesh has highest numbers of the leopards. Yes, because in the last tiger census, Madhya Pradesh has largest number of tigers. So Madhya Pradesh has two important things. One is it is highest number of tigers, highest numbers of leopards. Right. Now, this leopard is classified as vulnerable under IUCN. They are the category sometimes when they ask in UPSC. And in CITES, they are referred as Appendix 1. And in wildlife protection, they are referred as Schedule 1, highest degree of protection. Highest degree of protection and conservation. Right. And they also are having different ranges. That is Shivalik Hills range, Shivalik Hills range, where we find the number is 1253. The central India and the eastern range. So this is the richest one. It is where we find highest leopards. 8,071, which includes the states of Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, etc. Then the northeastern states, northeastern hills and Brahmaputra plain, and the western charts, which includes Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, etc. Right. So these are the four zones of leopards. These are the four zones of leopard. Yes, we can say a criticism means they can be used in defining certain parameters. They are not exactly idea what has happened there. You can use them as criticism. There is no harm in using such points. There is no harm in using. Then Project Lion was introduced in the year 2020. Right. It is to protect and conserve the Asiatic lions, which are endemic to Gujarat, endemic to Gir forest of Gujarat. Right. And they are listed as Schedule 1 of Wildlife Protection Act 1972, and they are listed as endangered of IUCN Red List. And it is one of the 5 pantherine cats inhabiting in India, that is Bengal tiger, Indian leopard, snow leopard, and clouded leopards. So it is one among these 5 pantherine cats which are inhabiting in India. Yeah, projects and conventions have to be remembered. So when we talk about leopards, please understand leopards are these parts: Shivalik Hills, Central India, Western Hills, and Northeastern Hills. You have to remember the projects and conventions. You don't know which convention can be asked. So you make a list of that and then try to understand them and put the objectives of that. They are very important because this environment and ecology is about more facts plus current affairs. So more factual data are there. So there is no harm if you revise them often and often, 2 times, 3 times with the proper notes. I don't think you will have any difficulty. Right. Project Line. Now here they made a analysis of the data of the lions. They found that the number of lions have been increased. The number of lions have been increased from 2005 to 2020 to around 674. The numbers have been increased. Now, there were many issues with the lions. There were many issues with the lions where they are there. The issues was the numbers was increased. It means their densities were increased. The density of lions was increased in protected areas. Protected areas, right? Then apart from that, the Gujarat Gir areas, we find that they were affected by many diseases. The lions were affected by many diseases, like a very common disease called as canine distemper virus, CDV. Canine distemper virus, right? And along with that, a protozoan disease called as babesiosis. Babesiosis. It is caused by protozoa. protozoan disease. And this protozoan disease, it attacks RBC of, it attacks the red blood cells. It attacks red blood cells, and that will lead to deficiency of hemoglobin called as anemia, which leads to anemia, and which ultimately leads to death of the animal species. So these animals, it is not only lions, tigers and many animals can be affected by that. But in the Gujarat region, because of its density and because of such a disease, there was a threat for these lion population. So hence government decided that why don't we relocate the lion population? And that's where they identified the 6 areas for possible relocation of the lions there. And they are Madho National Park in Madhya Pradesh, Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary in Madhya Pradesh, and then Sita Mata Wildlife Sanctuary in Rajasthan, Mukundra Hill Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan, Kumbalgad Wildlife Sanctuary in Rajasthan, and the last one, sixth one, is the Jessore Ambaji in Gujarat itself. In Gujarat itself, right? So these are the areas where they were made in the conspect. So this is the Sita Mata, and Mukundra Hill. This is Mukundra Hill in Rajasthan, right? And then Kumbalgad, you will find somewhere in this region. Kumbalgad in this region. Kumbalgad in that region. And then the 2 areas, Madho National Park in Madhya Pradesh, Madho National Park in Madhya Pradesh, right? And then Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary, And remember that the cheetah translocation was done in this Kulo National Park, African cheetah, and these were for lions. Translocation of lions. Is it clear? So this is something about the 6 sites and increasing of the population and Project Lion. Right. Now, translocation of African cheetahs, something associated with that. Translocation of the African cheetahs. Now, in the context of India, we had Asiatic cheetahs. And these Asiatic cheetahs were declared extinct in the year 1952. They were declared extinct in the year 1952, maybe due to hunting, trophies, or any activities. So there were large number of Asiatic cheetahs were there. So during Mughal Empire, there were thousands of cheetahs were there during Mughal Empire. During British, the number started to dwindle because of the hunting and trophy hunting. So the number decreased very, very low. And in the year 1952, it was declared as a complete extinction in India. So no more Asiatic cheetahs were seen in the context of India. And hence, government decided that why don't we introduce the Asiatic cheetahs? Government made a proposal for introduction of cheetahs. Now, why they made a proposal? Why introduction of cheetahs? Their points of reference is that if you keep the cheetahs there, it will eat the herbivore, and when it eats the herbivore, then it will revive the grasslands, because herbivores will eat up everything, like rabbits, deers. They will eat up all the grasslands, and which can make the grassland into deserts, which can convert. If you remove this prey, if you remove this, sorry, this predator, then the herbivore will cover that entire area and they will make the collapsing of grassland. So balancing of food chain. So hence it used to revive the grasslands. Revive the grasslands. Then, second, India has a very strong position in the context of clean energies, or India has also made its efforts to reduce the carbon emission by absorbing also. So here carbon neutrality aspects were seen. So that is the reason why we wanted to make sure that these forest areas should absorb more amount of carbon dioxide. If the grasses are there, then the grasses will absorb more amount of carbon. So it is for sequestration of carbon, to make carbon sequestration. Sequestration. Third, to improve the tourism. Improve the tourism. So tourist activities will improve in that region. Then to maintain the ecological balance. Ecological balance. To revive the grassland. To help in carbon sequestration. To revive, sorry, to increase the tourism. To maintain the ecological balance. So they thought that why don't we introduce this? And keeping this thing in the mind, government approach to Iran, where Iran has Asiatic cheetahs. Asiatic cheetahs are there. So this negotiation was not successful. So the negotiation with the Iran was not successful. Not successful. Right. So as it was not successful, then it moved for many years. And then National Tiger Conservation Authority, NTCA, right, it approached to the Supreme Court and proposed it approached to the Supreme Court and proposed that instead of the Asiatic cheetahs, why don't we introduce African cheetahs? It proposed instead of Asiatic cheetahs, why don't we introduce African cheetahs? African cheetah. And this proposal was accepted by Supreme Court. Supreme Court said green signal to that. It said, yes, go ahead with that. And once the Supreme Court has given green signal to that, then National Tiger Conservation Authority, it took the no objection certificate from International Union for Conservation of Nature. Then National Tiger Conservation Authority, it took no objection certificate from IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Nature. And then the cheetahs were introduced. African cheetahs were introduced. From two countries, Namibia and South Africa. And which state and where they were introduced as a pilot basis? In the Kuno National Park. So they were introduced in the Kuno National Park, right? So that is where we introduced the cheetahs for the first time as a project basis. And we have introduced the African cheetahs, but not the Asiatic cheetahs. Now, what is the issues associated with that? What are the issues associated with introducing the cheetahs? The first one is competition. They can't coexist. No coexisting. So there will always be competition. competition with the tigers which are there, competition with the leopards, etc. So they always compete. They always compete for their ecological niche. Second thing is, if you increase that, the density will increase. The density of the species will increase. And this density of species will make them to have leave their territory. Density will increase. Their population density will increases. Third one is, when you introduce them, then disease may spread in that areas. Disease may spread in that areas. And remember that it is not introducing from one pond to another pond. It is intercontinental translocation. It is a unique type which is referred as intercontinental. Continental. So hence there will be a issue of threat because we are introducing it from African continent to Asian continent. African to Asian continent. So adjustment with environmental factors will be seen here, right? So hence, along with the disease, the challenge is adaptation. Challenge is adaptation. Challenge of adaptation. And then sometimes when they are displaced in that areas, which can lead to man-animal conflict. Man-animal conflict. Man-animal conflict. So these are the challenges associated with the intercontinental translocation of African cheetahs to India. And rest you have read that two cheetahs were dead, two cheetahs were died of disease, two were due to injuries when the conflict was there. So we always come across these. Disease was seen, conflict was there, right? So again the government is making the proposal. Last time also they told that yes, we need to have more. Another minute, then we can have a break. So this is what the African cheetahs and Asiatic cheetahs. Remember, Asiatic cheetahs are found only in Iran. They are comparatively smaller, and these are referred as critically endangered. They are critically endangered. Intercontinental means one continent to another continent, continent to continent. That is Africa to Asia. Intercontinental, right? And if you see African cheetahs, they are bigger. That means they are very large, and they are found in many places. All or many places are there. And if you see the IUCN category of the Asiatic cheetahs, they are critically endangered, whereas the African cheetahs, they are vulnerable under IUCN categories, right? So now we can have a break. We can have a break, and we can resume the class at 8 a.m. Endangered means I have explained that. Endangered means there are nine categories of IUCN red list. So yesterday I have explained that it consists of extinct, extinct in wild, critically endangered, endangered, right, vulnerable, right? So nine categories are there. So in that nine categories we define them. Nine categories of IUCN. The density can increase. The density increases. Already there are 10 tigers. You are adding 4 cheetahs to that. Then the density will increase. The density will increase. Okay, so welcome back to the session. Hope I am audible as well as visible to you all. Right. See, Dholpur Karoli, yes, it is there, but according to something called as Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, a ministry, and according to that National Tiger Conservation Authority, in the month of December 2023, while they were announcing its achievements and all. So during that, when you go with the PIBs, and official documents, in this official documents, they have declared that the 54th Tiger Reserve of India is the Durgavati Tiger Reserve. So in that they are declared. I know that Dholpur Karoli is there, but officially when we talk about the December 2023 statement, which is declared by the government, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, through their PIBs. So there they have declared 54th Tiger Reserve as that. Yes, it is in Rajasthan where we can find that, but this is as per the official data. See, Kishan, don't get much stress. You write them proper and proper. Write them, and link them with the proper perspectives. Like in biodiversities, which conventions are there? Don't mix up all. Go with the class. So in biodiversity, we are having the conventions. So three conventions are there in biodiversity. One is sites, second one is CMS, and the third one is CBD. Simple. Sites, CMS, and CBD. Sites is for illegal trade of the animals, plants. Sites is to curb the illegal trade of endangered species. Forcibly, when the animals are carried, then animals, migratory species, they move from one region to another region voluntarily, and to protect the voluntary movement of migratory species, we have made a convention called as CMS, Conservation of Migratory Species. And then 1992, we had a convention called as Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD. And the CBD had two protocols, Nagoya Protocol and Cartagena Protocol. So when you're writing notes on biodiversity, you keep them aside. And along with that, 80 targets, 80 targets. So if you mix all conventions in one stretch, it becomes difficult. You read the convention separately till you get the confidence in remembering them. Then you can mix up with all. UNFCCC will discuss. Don't mix all the things. UNFCCC will discuss when I take a global warming and climate change. Don't get much disturbed. Go with the flow, what I'm taking with the class. Is it clear? So in that way, you can remember them. So when you're reading biodiversity, make all conventions of biodiversity at one stretch. I hope it is clear. Right. Now, during 2020, we also announced a Project Dolphin. Project Dolphin. And dolphin is referred as National Aquatic Animal of India. National Aquatic Animal of India. Animal of India. Right. I'll see what we can do in that format. Right. So it is about conservation of dolphins, both river and oceanic. River and oceanic. It is found in Ganga, Meghna, Brahmaputra rivers in the India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. The status of dolphin. The status of dolphin. Factual part. It is endangered in IUCN Red List. It is under 1972 Schedule 1 Wildlife Act 1972. It is Schedule 1. In CITES, it is Appendix. Trade of endangered species. Then CMS. CMS means voluntary migration. So this is how you have to remember. CMS sites, right? And here the Vikramshila Gangetic Plain Sanctuary, which is from Sultanganj to Kahalganj in Bihar, is the only dolphin sanctuary in the country. We are making efforts to increase them. So that we can conserve the national aquatic animal of India. And 5th October is National Ganga River Dolphin Day. 5th October, National Ganga River Dolphin Day. Is it clear? Now, this is a stretch where you find the dolphins. Three countries, and the river systems. So, in Project Dolphin, remember it is river dolphin and also ocean dolphin. Both has to be protected and conserved. Is it clear? Now, Project Elephant. Project Elephant was introduced in the year 1992. And remember, it did not had the legal status. It did not has, or did not have, or it don't have legal status. No legal status. No legal status like Project Tiger. No Project Tiger. So hence, the Project Tiger division was being merged with Project Elephant in the year 2023. This is where controversial part is there. So there are many issues and concerns. So maybe in another 3 or 4 months we may get more details of that. But at present, if you see the 2024 status of Project Elephant, we find that from 2023, the Project Tiger has been merged with the Project Elephant, and the new division has been created. And the new division which has been created is Project Tiger and Elephant Division. Project Tiger and Elephant Division, which is making all its efforts to protect and conserve the elephants under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So both will be conserved in one, as it did not have legal status. So we find such, because elephants are the species where we find large deaths of animals are there because of man-animal conflict. Right. So we need to protect them. We need to protect that. Now, in the context of India, if you see the number of elephants, it is highest in Karnataka, 6,049, followed by Assam, Kerala, and all. So it is highest in the state of Karnataka. More specifically, we find they are dominant in the Western Ghats. So they always move from Western Ghats to Eastern Ghats, that region where they move. Western Ghats to Eastern Ghats. Western Ghats to Eastern Ghats, right? Through Nilgiris and all, which creates something called as a corridor, ecological corridor. Right. And under this Project Elephant, the emphasis will be to develop more ecological corridors or elephant corridors. To develop more elephant corridors. Now, what is the role of elephant corridors? Safe movement of elephants. Safe and undisturbed movement of elephants. Right. Safe, undisturbed movement of elephants. So within these projects, they will be emphasizing on ecological corridors, elephant corridors for the safe movement of the elephants here. Right. Now, in the context of India, 33 elephant reserves are there. The 33rd was the Dudhwa Pilbit in Uttar Pradesh. So this is the 33rd tiger reserve there. Then we have Lemru in Chhattisgarh. Limru in Chhattisgarh, and Agastamalai in Tamil Nadu. So this is 32nd Tiger Reserve, Tamil Nadu, 32nd, right? And then Terai Elephant Tiger Reserve, Terai Elephant Tiger Reserve. So this is the 33rd Tiger Reserve of India. This is the 33rd Tiger Reserve of India. Right. And Agastamalai Biosphere Reserve in Tamil Nadu, 32nd. And Lemuru is the 31st Tiger Elephant Reserve in Chhattisgarh. So 31st, 32nd, 33rd. So 33 elephant reserves are there in India. Right. So Terai Elephant Reserve is in Dudhwa, Pilbit, Uttar Pradesh. So apologies, they are tiger reserves I'm talking. Sorry, elephant reserves I'm talking. Elephant reserves. Elephant reserves. Apologies for this. Elephant reserves. Elephant reserves. Is it clear? Elephant reserves. Sorry, apologies, Shreya and Sham. Miss of the word was there. Sincere apologies for that. So we are talking about elephant reserves. Elephant reserves there. So Terai is in this Dudhwa Pilbit of Uttar Pradesh. Then Limru in Chhattisgarh. Agastya Malai Elephant Reserve in this regions. Right. Now next is the Convention on Biological Diversity. Right. So this Convention on Biological Diversity, India has implemented this by an act called as Biodiversity Act of 2002. Now this Convention on Biological Diversity, it is an international approach in protecting biodiversity. So this is international approach in protecting biodiversity. Then apart from that, there is something called as Agenda 21. Agenda 21. Now remember, Agenda 21 is also a part of Earth Summit. It is also a part of Earth Summit, which was in the year 1992. So Agenda 21 is, it talks about the blueprint of sustainable development for 21st century. It is blueprint of sustainable development for 21st century. So when I take global warming and climate change, I'll explain that in detail. But here remember, agenda is sustainable development. 21 refers to 21st century. Agenda means it is about sustainable development, and 21 refers to the 21st century. So sustainable development of 21st century. So it is also an international approach. It is also international approach. Then HE targets by which we can protect the reserves. Then sustainable development goals. So there are 17 goals. 17 goals. Now when you are writing your answers for biodiversity, international approaches will be CBD, sites, CMS, Agenda 21, HE targets, and sustainable development. And natural approaches are Project Tigers, Project Elephant, etc. This is how you should demarcate your answers. Right. Ramsar wetlands. Now these Ramsar wetlands in India. A Ramsar Convention in the year 1971, which defined the definition that any water, not the depth of water, not more than 6 not more than 6 meters. I have explained the complete idea about that. What is Ramsar wetland? So any water not more than 6 meters. We refer that as a definition or criteria for Ramsar wetlands. Now, thus in collaboration, Ramsar Convention in collaboration of IUCN, BirdLife International, International Management Institute, Wetland International, and all these. Keeping all these things in the mind, the Ramsar Convention works for protection and conservation, protection and conservation of the biodiversity, more specifically the wetlands. Protection, conservation, and you can say restoration, conservation, restoration, restoration of the wetlands. Restoration of the wetlands, right? Now, in the context of India, there were 75 wetlands, 5 were added. So totally 80 wetlands are there, which are referred as Ramsar wetlands. Ramsar wetlands. And these are the 5 new wetlands which were added. New added wetlands. So at present, totally, the total Ramsar wetlands in India. Total Ramsar wetlands in India are 80. And remember this Longwood Shola Reserve Forest. It is in that Tamil Nadu. Shola Forest. That's what we discussed now. Shola Forest. Shola Forest. Right. So 2 are in Tamil Nadu. 2 are in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu. And by addition of 2, with addition of the 2, the total number of Ramsar wetland in Tamil Nadu is 16. Now, Tamil Nadu has highest Ramsar wetlands. Tamil Nadu state has highest Ramsar wetlands in the Indian state. So it is having highest. It is a state with highest number of Ramsar wetlands in India. In India, with 16 numbers. 16 numbers. So in that, this is in the Shola Forest, Western Ghats, Shola Forest. Then Kariveti Bird Sanctuary. So this is very important flyway. It is very important flyway. It is in that Central Asian flyway where international birds migrate to that areas. In India, the Ramsar wetlands are 80 and wetlands are 7 lakh plus. 7 lakh plus wetlands are there, but Ramsar wetlands are 80. And 3 are from Karnataka. 3 are from Karnataka. Karnataka, right? 16 wetlands. So 16 wetlands are there, which are referred as Ramsar wetlands. So 16 Ramsar wetlands are there in Tamil Nadu. 16 Ramsar wetlands are there in Tamil Nadu. So it is highest number of Ramsar wetlands in India, state-wise. Is it clear? And Karnataka had 3. So 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2. So totally 5 Ramsar wetlands were added. Right. Now, I'm not talking about area-wise. I'm talking about highest number of Ramsar wetlands. Largest is something different. I'm talking about highest number. Right. Now, from Karnataka, remember that Ankan Samudra Bird Sanctuary, it is man-made. It is man-made. Man-made, very important one. And here we find the species painted stork, black-headed ibis, which are dominant in that area. It is from Karnataka. Karnataka. Then Agnashani estuary. Agnashani, the river which moves that towards the western side. Agnashani river. It is west flowing river. Agnashani river, west flowing river. And this creates an estuary, not the deltas. Estuary. So confluence of Agnashani river with Arabian Sea, which creates an estuary. West flowing river, Agnashani river. And again, this is from Karnataka. Karnataka. Then Magdi Keri Conservation Reserve. Remember, this is man-made. This is man-made. Again, this is in Karnataka. Karnataka. Right. And here, this Magdi Kere Conservation, it provides harbor to two vulnerable species. Two vulnerable species are there. They are common pochard and then river tern. River tern. Two vulnerable species are there, and it gives harbor for four near threatened species. Four near threatened species. Near threatened species, and they are oriental darter, black-headed ibis, then woolly-necked stork, and painted stork. So four are near threatened. In prelims, if they ask, you should remember that, right? And this is very important bird area, designated as important bird area, and also priority for conservation, because it is a region where many birds reach there during their annual cycle. Annual cycle. And this is also from Karnataka. So three from Karnataka. Three from Karnataka. See, don't need to pronounce them. So in prelims, just mark them. Right. So in prelims, you can mark them. It is very simple. Agnashani Estuary, Magdi Kere Conservation Reserve, then Ankan Samudra Bird Conservation. It comes by practice. Ankan Samudra, Agnashani, Magdi Kere Conservation Reserves. Don't remember them, but at least when they are appearing in your prelims, you mark them correctly. By practice, you will see. It depends. It depends. When you are there, northeastern states will be a problem for the people who are staying in the south. So it becomes very difficult. I do agree with that. I do agree with that. Pronunciation is based on your linguistic activities, which we talk every day. Of course, I agree that there will be a problem, but still you make a reference of remembering a few datas. Right. Then these two are from Tamil Nadu. These two are from Tamil Nadu. That is Karivetti Bird Sanctuary. Karivetti Bird Sanctuary. This is in Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu. And the Longwood Shola Reserve Forest of Tamil Nadu. So here it is the largest inland wetland of Tamil Nadu. Karivetti is largest inland wetland of Tamil Nadu, and it is the source of groundwater recharge in that areas. You don't have to remember, but if they are asked in the examination, you have to mark them. They will give both. They will give both. If you remember the normal name, that is sufficient. Right. Right. Then Longwood Shola Reserve. So this is where we find the Nilgiris are dominant. Nilgiris Biosphere Reserve. So there you find Longwood Shola Reserve. And I have explained this in detail about that. So here important visitors in the Karavetti Bird Sanctuary are bar-headed goose, pin-tailed duck, northern shawler, common pochard, Eurasian pigeon, and these. You can't predict UPSC how they ask the question. So it is better to read them and remember them, because this Karavetti is important region where it is having an important flyway, international flyway. It is on the route of international flyway. So I have explained that there are 9 international flyways are there. 9 international flyways are there. And out of these 9, 3 are in India. 3 are in India. And this is a part of that Central Asian flyway. Central Asian flyway. Is it clear? So these all are about the 5 Ramsar wetlands of India. Right. Then India has more than 7.5 lakh wetlands, more than 7.5 lakh wetlands, which covers 15.3 million hectares, out of which at present 2024, 80 are Ramsar wetlands. 80 are Ramsar wetlands, and out of these 80, out of these 80, 2 are Montrex records. 2 are Montrex records, where we need to make protection, where we need to protection in that region. So I'm talking about the 5 which have been added recently. 5 which have been added recent, last month, that is January, which has been added, right? So it is in the month of January, right? It is in the month of January. Sorry, not January. I guess February. February 2024. February 2024. So 5 were added. 5 were added. Million hectares. MHA means million hectares. Million hectares. Now the Global Wetland Reports of 2018, it has said that world has lost 87% of wetlands since 1700, and India is also the same. Now the reason for loss of wetlands. So remember, wetlands means they can be example of lake, pond, lakes, pondlands. They can be estuary, they can be rivers, etc., etc. Right? So ponds, lakes, estuaries, etc. So there are reasons for the losing of the wetlands. One is because of illegal encroachment. Illegal encroachment. And this illegal encroachment is for agriculture, for settlements, and for setting up of industries. So many industries are there on the proximity of the lakes and ponds. Second, due to pollution. Large amount of pollution enters there, which disturbs their biodiversity. Third one is the debris which are thrown in that. Throwing of debris. Fourth, high siltation. So whenever any river reaches there, it brings silts, deposits, siltation. So these are some of the few reasons. Where we have lost many amount of the wetlands. Right? So hence we need to protect and conserve them. And that's why India had made its efforts to protect the wetlands. And the efforts in the context of India is, so we initiated the National Wetland Conservation Program in 1986, and in the pilot basis we took 116 wetlands to protect, conserve, and restore. And then National Lake Conservation Program was introduced in the year 2001. And we thought that why don't we make a strong impact on protecting and conservation. So hence In the year 2013, in the year 2013, both a, that is National Wetland Conservation Program, National Wetland Conservation Program, and the National Lake Conservation Program, both were merged, and the new program was initiated, that is National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem, in the year 2013. Now this is where they made a holistic approach in conserving and restoration of the wetlands with different methodology, like collecting the data collection data means what is the present issues, what type of the pollutions are entering there, how many lakes are under the threat, collection of the data, then involving of local people, so local people involvement in them, and conserving them with the national standards, right? So at present we are having the National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystems, right? So when you are reading your current affairs, so please read about this National Plan for Conservation. It has been formed by merging the existing the two. Now, to implement that, we needed rules. And the national wetland rules, the national conservation and management rules. For the first time, the national wetland and management conservation rules were given in the year 2010, and these were modified. These were modified modified in the year 2017. So hence we are having wetland conservation management rules of 2017. Now under the rules, it says that we should have an authority to maintain that, authority at the state level and authority at the center level. So it talks about the setting up of an authority. So each state and union territory will have an authority that will define the strategies and conservation in their jurisdiction. But the moment when the authority is there, so they will prepare a list. So these authorities, they will prepare a list. They will prepare a list of all the wetlands in their state. Prepare the list of wetlands in their state. Then the third activity, what the rules say, that they will make a comprehensive list of activities. They will make a list of activities. Which activities? The activities which can be regulated and permitted. Activities which can be regulated. Regulated means restricted. And some activities which can be permitted. Activities which can be regulated or which can be permitted. Activities which can be permitted with certain criteria. Regulated means restricting them, right? So authority prepare the list, and then activities has to be identified. Now once you have identified them, then you should make rules to prohibit the setting up of or expansion of industries which are posing threat. Expansion of industries and disposal of the construction debris in that which poses the threat. Right. And Also to recommend the mechanism for the maintenance of ecological characters. Now remember, along this management rules of 2017, authority has to be made. They should prepare the list. Then they should identify the activities which has to be regulated and which has to be allowed. Then they should prohibit the setting up of industry and throwing the debris in that. Then they should provide mechanism, knowledge based, science based mechanism in the context of protecting the wetlands. So this is what you have to remember: authority, preparation of the list, activities, then prohibiting the industries which are harmful to that areas, and then about mechanism to improve the state of wetlands. Right. Now, along with that, we have a program called as Amrit Dharohar, which focuses on conservation of existing Ramsar sites in India through active participation, public participation. Amrit Dharohar used in the year 2023. Then also Mishti, I have explained this when I defined mangroves. So this is also to protect and conserve the wetlands. Mishti, mangroves initiative for shoreland habitats and tangible. I have explained this while defining the measures to protect mangroves. Right. So it talks about protection as well as livelihood to them. It talks about protection as well as livelihood to the local community. Right. Then National Green Tribunal. So it is referred as the highest judicial body with reference to environmental laws. It was established in the year 2010 under the National Green Tribunal Act of 2010. So its main headquarter is at Delhi, and it operates in another four, that is Bhopal, Pune, Kolkata, and Chennai. That is benches are there. Bhopal, Pune, Kolkata. Is it clear? And the tribunal comprises of chairperson, the judicial members, and experts. Don't make much elaboration of that. Is it clear? They shall hold the office for a term of 5 years and are not eligible for reappointment. No reappointment. And they are mandated to make and endure the disposal of any case which is given within 6 months of filing. Is it clear? So this is something called as the National Green Tribunal. Tribunals. Tribunal means ad hocs. Right. Now here it has the scope under these acts. Water Conservation, Water Prevention Act, Forest Conservation Act, Pollution Acts, and these. So it can take the cases, and it can also be suo motu by itself. Right. So these are the scope under which it gives its decision. Scopes to give decisions. The acts which takes. Is it clear? Okay. Now, Wildlife Protection Act, factual data. Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. Now here you should remember that it is helping for formation of advisory boards, wildlife wardens, specifies their power and duties. It also makes the comprehensive list of endangered wildlife by taking the reference of IUCN Red List. of IUCN Red List. Red List. It prohibits hunting and endangered species with different degrees. With different degrees of protection. Different degrees of protection. It established national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, that is protected areas. Protected areas. It prohibits the scheduled animals for trade. Now, here when we talk about prohibits the scheduled animals for the trades. Now, this is where India wanted to make more strong presence of this, and that's why this is covered under sites, illegal trade sites. So implement the sites in the national law. Implement this in the national law. We made amendment. We made amendment to the Wildlife Act of 1972 to implement the sites. To implement the sites, right? Then it also provides license for sale, transfer, and possession of certain license for sale of some products which can be having medicinal usages transfer and possession of certain wildlife, that is transferring them from one to another. And initially it had six schedules. Initially it had six schedules. It had six schedules, but after that, when we made an effort in implementing sites at the national legislation, we made amendment to that. We amended this and made new changes. New changes were introduced in that. Right. Now, initially, it consisted of Schedule 1 and Schedule 2, which needed absolute protection. Hunting of them was a crime, punishable offense, and they can be hunted only when they become a threat or only when they are having disease. Completely prohibition of hunting was there. Hunting of them can impose to be fine and jail, and they can be hunted only under certain conditions when they become man eaters, when a disease is prevailing in that areas. Only certain conditions, not always. Then schedule and schedule 4, a protection is given to them, less degree of protection. And schedule 5, vermin can be hunted. Vermin means those are the animals which pose threat to crops, livestock, etc. So they can be hunted, like rats. Then we have crows, rats, crow, etc., which can be hunted. Then schedule 6, plants prohibited from cultivating. And if you want to cultivate that, you need a license. You needed a license. Needed a license for their growing. So these were the existing 6 schedules. Now, when we made an effort in the year 2022, we made changes in that. And at present, the Wildlife Act, this Wildlife Act of 1972 has 4 schedules. 4 schedules. In that, the schedule 4, in that, the 4th schedule is to implement the sites in India's national laws. Sites in India's national laws, that is protecting and conserving the endangered species. And for that, to implement that, we created management authority. We created management authority. And what is the work of management authority? It is to grant export and import. It will grant exports and import. export and import of endangered species. Exports and endangered species. Then along with that management authority, we also have a scientific authority. Scientific authority. Now, the scientific authority give advices to the center government, give advices to the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, give advices, it give advices to regulate the trade. Regulate the trade. Yes, cannibal, sometimes when we say they are, but they have to be protected. They have to be taken the permission. Now, this is what you should remember, the schedule part. Now, the new schedule one, it consists of most endangered species of wild animals and plants. They are prohibited from being hunted, captured, and traded or possessed. Then schedule 2, it consists of the species that are also high protection. They can be hunted under circumstances when they become threat, scientific research, etc. Schedule 3, species that are protected with lesser degree of protection than schedule 1 and 2, and they can be hunted or captured with permit from government. So please read them and understand the statements according to the legal conflicts. Don't make research on that. So this is more than sufficient in maintaining the Wildlife Act 1972 and its provisions. Its provisions. Its provisions. Right. Now, certain question was in a particular plant species is placed under Schedule 6 of the Wildlife Act of 1970. This is before 2022. Now we don't have Schedule 6 there. We have 4 schedules. After 2022, only 4 schedules are there. So 6 schedules have been replaced with 4 schedules. With 4 schedules. Is it clear? So here you have to remember these because it is covered under Wildlife Act of 1972, national jurisdictions. Is it clear? Now remember this. The moment when we talk about them, this is about NGT. And NGT do not have the authority on Wildlife Act because Wildlife Act is through the Act of Constitution, Parliament. Parliament. Right. Now we move on to third topic called as ozone depletion. Ozone depletion. So we completed entire biodiversity. We made an effort in understanding what is biodiversity of India. We completed all the important aspects, including convention, including approaches. So that is more than sufficient. And apart from that, if you are writing something, reading something in current affairs, make a list of that. Make a list of that. Right. Now, after this, we'll talk something about ozone depletion. Now, before moving down to the ozone depletion, now understand something about ozone layer. What is ozone layer? What is ozone layer and why it is important? Why it is important? Now, the moment when you talk about the ozone layer, understand its perspectives. That understand its perspectives. When we say ozone, see, Schedule 6 has been subsumed in the Schedule 4. It is not removed, it is subsumed. All 6 were clubbed in the within the Schedule 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4. They have been clubbed in that. So instead of Schedule 6, they all have been merged to give more protection, to more conservation of the species. Ozone. So the moment when we say ozone, there are two types of ozones are there. The one ozone which is found at the ground level, we refer this as pollutant, and this creates many respiratory disease, right? And we refer this as bad ozone, which is found at ground level. Now, apart from that, we also find ozone at height. We also find ozone at height, right? In the second layer of atmosphere, that is stratosphere, right? And this is referred as good ozone, right? Yes, still required. Government's permission is still required for cultivation of certain species, not all. For medicinal, still it is required, which are included there. Still required in the schedule. It is already mentioned that you need a permission to grow them. Height, second, that is troposphere, somewhere around 25 to 30 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Above the Earth's surface. So we refer that as good ozone. Now, this good ozone is developed or produced when we find the interaction, when we find the ultraviolet radiation, when they collide with the ozone oxygen molecule, when they collide with oxygen molecule, this oxygen molecule breaks into oxygen atom. This oxygen molecule breaks into oxygen atom. Oxygen atom. Right. Now this oxygen atom combines with the oxygen molecule. This oxygen atom combines with the oxygen molecule and form O3, which is ozone. And this ozone, which is formed at great height, after its formation, it is transported downward. After its formation, it is transported downward. It is transported downward. And that's why it is found at 25 to 30 degrees above the Earth's surface. It is found at 25 to 30 degrees above the Earth's surface, which we refer them as good ozone. Now, this ozone, which is found at 25 to 30 kilometers above that, I have explained this, how this ozone is formed. Due to impact of ultraviolet radiation, oxygen molecule breaks into oxygen atoms. And this oxygen atom combines with the oxygen molecule and forms ozone. And after that, it is transported downward. This ozone, it is highly unstable. And its thickness is measured by a unit called as Dobson unit. Now, the moment when you talk about the Dobson units, the ideal thickness or the thickness which can protect us from many types of events is when it is considered as an average thickness around 300 Dobson units, which is considered as ideal average 300 Dobson units. So in the stratosphere, if it is having 300 Dobson units, generally we refer that as 3 millimeters, compressed 3 millimeters, right? So this is an ideal, this is something which we refer them as the ideal thickness of ozone. Ideal thickness of ozone layer, that is 300 Dobson units. Dobson units. Now, if the ideal thickness is there, ideal thickness is there, then this ozone layer will protect us. It will protect us from many types of issues by absorbing ultraviolet radiation. It protects us by absorbing ultraviolet radiations. Right? As it absorbs ultraviolet radiation, it protects us from what we refer them as skin cancer. Skin cancer. It also protects us from eye disease, cataract. Cataract, eye disease. And it also protects the biodiversity. It also protects the biodiversity. Its impacts will be more if the ultraviolet radiations reaches. So it protects the biodiversity. Is it clear? So this is what good ozone is. At height, ultraviolet radiation interact with the oxygen and break that oxygen molecule into O and O, and that O combine with oxygen molecule, and then it forms ozone. It is highly unstable. Unstable means it's not permanent. It is not permanent. The moment when it is formed, after some time, it breaks naturally. It breaks naturally. So this is what we refer them as natural process. The natural process of formation of ozone and protection. So two types of ozones are there, good ozone and bad ozone. Now in this class, we will be discussing the good ozone. Bad ozone will take up in pollution. Bad ozone we will take up in the pollution. Is it clear? Now, as I told that, due to the impact of the ultraviolet radiations, this ultraviolet radiation breaks the oxygen molecule into oxygen atom, and this oxygen atom reacts with the oxygen molecule, the broken one, and it forms ozone, and this ozone is transported downward. So this is what we refer them as ozone layer. Ozone layer. After that, it is transported downward. So what we breathe is O2, right? So ozone layer. So whenever when you are talking about the composition of the air, we use oxygen, O2, not atom. Atom is at height. So when we talk about heights, I'm talking, it is atom. So we breathe this O2, right? So ozone layer, which prevents us from such types of the disease like cataract disease, skin cancer, etc. So we find ozone layer in the stratosphere. That is second layer of the Earth's atmosphere. And because of presence of ozone layer, the temperature increases in the stratosphere with the height. We refer that as temperature inversion. Because of its presence, the temperature increases with the height in the stratosphere. So it shows temperature inversion. Temperature inversion in the stratosphere. Temperature inversion in the stratosphere. Why? Because it absorbs ultraviolet radiation. It absorbs ultraviolet radiation and it becomes warmer. So it makes increase in the temperature. Is it clear? Now, next is how this ozone is formed and what concerns are there. There is always a concept called as thinning of ozone layer. Now, what is this thinning of ozone layer? So I told that ideally, if the ozone layer is having a thickness of average 300 Dobson unit, we refer that as ideal layer. Now this layer, when it becomes thin, that is below 200, thin, below 200 Dobson units, then we refer that as thinning of ozone layer. Thinning of ozone layer. And we refer this as ozone depletion. Thinning of ozone layer or ozone depletion. Thinning of ozone layer, depletion. Right. Now here. Understand here. Naturally, 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 we find that ultraviolet radiations breaks the oxygen molecule into oxygen and oxygen atom, and this oxygen atom combines with the oxygen molecule and forms ozone. Now this is what we did. Now this ozone is highly unstable. This ozone which is formed, ozone molecule, is highly unstable. So it means that the way in which it is formed, it dissociates also the form. So it dissociates also very faster. Dissociates means breaks also very faster. That is, this ozone which is formed, say after a few days, 80 days, 100 days, etc., after a few days, this ozone breaks again into O and O2, breaks again into oxygen and ozone. So it is a cycle. It is a cycle where we find from the oxygen, ozone is formed. Ozone is formed, and again ozone dissociates. Ozone dissociates and form oxygen. Ozone breaks and oxygen forms. So hence we refer that as oxygen ozone oxygen cycle. So it is referred as a cycle. Oxygen, ozone, and oxygen cycle. It is a continuous process. It is not one time. It is a continuous process. The moment when we say cycle, it is a continuous process. Continuous process. Continuously we find this. And this process was explained systematically by Chapman. It was explained by Chapman, Australian metallurgist Chapman. And hence, in the honor of Chapman, it is referred as Chapman cycle. It is referred as Chapman cycle. So what is Chapman cycle? Chapman cycle talks about this natural formation of ozone and dissociation. Natural formation of ozone and dissociation. Dissociation or breaking up of that. Dissociation, sometimes it is 80 days or 100 days. You don't have to remember the days. Just remember that it dissociates. It stays very short. Sometimes 80, sometimes 100. So it dissociates. Right. Now, this is what the natural process. So if you take some 200 years back, there was a natural process of formation and natural dissociation. What was broken, the same was formed. So there was a balance between dissociation and formation. Some 200 years back, there was a balance between the formation of ozone and dissociation. right? So it means that you are losing 10 rupees and 10 rupees you are gaining. So you are nothing losing extra. You are not losing anything extra. So 20 rupees you are losing, 20 rupees you are gaining. So there was a balance between the formation and dissociation, that is natural. And hence the average thickness was maintained. And hence the average thickness was maintained. Thickness was maintained. Naturally, it was maintained. Right. But but here you should understand, with the many development in science and technologies, we started using air conditioners, we started using refrigerators, etc. Air conditioners, refrigerators, etc. So here we find they all are man-made. They are all man-made for their usages. So through these refrigerators and air conditioners, it also emitted the gases. And these gases which are emitted by them, they are referred as chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, which were used in them. Chlorine, bromine, etc. Chlorine, bromine, etc. Right? So CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, chlorofluorocarbon, which were used in them. Now what happened? What happened in this? Now this CFC, when it reached to the second layer of atmosphere, from troposphere to stratosphere, CFC, when it reached to the second layer. So this CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, because of the chemical reactions, it frees the chlorine. It free the chlorine. So chlorine becomes free from CFC. So from CFC, the chlorine becomes free. Right. Now, this chlorine reacts with the ozone molecule. Now, this is where the catch is. This chlorine, it reacts with the ozone molecule and it breaks the ozone molecule into O2 and ClO. It breaks the ozone molecule into oxygen and ClO. And it does not stops here. It does not stops here. So after this, again Cl become free. Chlorine will become free. So in this way, this chlorine which is liberated. So one molecule of chlorine can destroy 1 lakh of ozone molecule. Can destroy 1 lakh of ozone molecule. 1 lakh of ozone molecule. One molecule of chlorine can react with the ozone molecule and breaks them. So its potential capacity is very high. Its potential is very high. So one molecule can destroy 1 lakh of that. So imagine if 1,000 chlorine molecules are there, 1,000 into 1 lakh. So hence the dissociation was more. Dissociation was more. Dissociation was more. Right. Now here when we talk about dissociation, understand this. The dissociation was two ways. One is natural and second one is man-made. The dissociation is two ways. One is natural and second one is man-made. Man-made. So the dissociation has increased, but the natural formation has remained the same. The natural formation has remained the same. This has not increased. This has not increased, but the dissociation has been increased due to man-made factors. Due to man-made factors, it is something like this. Initially, you were receiving 20 rupees and you were spending 20 rupees. So there was a balance with you. But now you are getting 20 rupees only. What you are getting? Your pocket money, 20 rupees only. But you are spending 30 rupees. You are spending 30 rupees. It means that you will have deficiency of the rupee with you. So this aspect of more dissociation, this aspect of more dissociation will make the thinning of ozone layer, will make thinning of ozone layer, thinning of ozone layer well below the natural process of formation, thinning of ozone layer well below the formation of natural process, natural process. So by that, the ozone layer becomes thin and it reaches to somewhere around 200 Dobson units or below that. And when it becomes below 200 Dobson units, then we refer this as ozone depletion. Ozone depletion. Now here they have identified very strongly that it is the role of the chlorofluorocarbons, chlorines which have been emitted by that. So this ozone depletion is man-made. Man-made. Because of using of the refrigerators, air conditioners, etc., which emit the gases like chlorofluorocarbon, chlorine, bromine, etc. And these gases are responsible for depleting of the ozone. So hence they are referred as ozone depleting substances. So hence they are referred as ozone depleting substances. Ozone depleting substances. ODS. Ozone depleting substances. Is it clear? So this is what we refer that as ozone depletion, and 100% they have identified that this ozone depletion is man-made because of the ozone depleting substances. Ozone depleting substances. Is that clear? And when we talk about this, they have proved that, they have systematically proved that it is mainly because of the man-made activities. And that is the reason why. That is the reason why. In the year 1995, in the year 1995, three people, they received the Nobel Prize in chemistry for identifying that CFC, chlorofluorocarbon, is the main reason of ozone depletion. CFC is the main reason for ozone depletion, and they are Roland, Cruzan, and Molina. So these are the three people, these are the three scientists who gave a complete elaboration that the ozone depletion, which they identified in 1980s and 90s, is mainly due to chlorofluorocarbon. And because of that, the ozone depletion has been reduced. And this entire process, we refer that as ozone depletion. We refer this as ozone depletion. Is it clear? That is thinning of ozone below 200 Dobson units. And remember, this is man-made. This is man-made. So we can't use chlorofluorocarbon for bad ozone. It is not the way to use that, right? So don't make such statements. You can't use the chlorofluorocarbon to disturb, because bad ozone is totally different. This is different, bad ozone is different. So when I take pollution, I'll explain that. But here, don't make such points. So this is called as ozone and ozone depletion, which can take place in any part of the earth. right? Ozone and ozone depletion. Now, when we reach to one point, this is in any part of the earth, any part of the earth, we can find this tropical area, equator areas, wherever the ozone layer becomes less than 200 nautical miles, we refer them as this. So aerosols, not all aerosols, few aerosols which consist of chlorine, which may have the part, so they do not have much. Aerosols can be of two types, right? So here, not all the aerosols are seen, right? Now, when we talk about the perspective of ozone depletion, in the context of Antarctica, it is totally different. In the context of Antarctica, it is different. Antarctica, it is different. Why? If you see the Antarctica perspectives, in the Antarctica, the ozone depletion is yearly basis. It is every year. Every year. It is annual ozone depletion, and it is periodic in Antarctica. The ozone depletion in Antarctica, it starts from the month of August, and it becomes maximum depletion in this maximum depletion maximum depletion in the month of October and November, that is last or initial month, November. So the process starts in the month of August. It reaches maximum in the month of October and November, and by the month of December it recovers. It recovers in the month of December. Now here, when we talk about the maximum depletion in the October and November, it is unique thing of Antarctica. It is nowhere found in any part of the earth. It is mainly because of a special chemical reaction, and also something called as some types of meteorological functions, or we say associated with certain types of wind patterns, and certain aspects of temperature aspects. So because of this, we find this Antarctica ozone always find the depletion. Now remember that this Antarctica ozone depletion, sometimes it is beyond 200 Dobson unit. When it is beyond 200 Dobson unit, that is below. Beyond means below. Instead of beyond, you say below. When it is below 200 Dobson unit, somewhere around 100 Dobson units, when it reaches to 100 Dobson unit, then it becomes very thin. Practically very thin. And we refer that when it becomes very, very thin, less than 100 Dobson units, we refer that as ozone hole. In the Antarctica. When it is below 100 Dobson units, we refer that as Antarctica hole, Antarctica ozone hole. Now, why such types of activities are there? Why we find Antarctica ozone depletion is there? Now, to understand the Antarctica ozone depletion, you should understand two things about Antarctica. To understand why in the Antarctica we find ozone hole. Why it is ozone hole in Antarctica? It depends on the geology of Antarctica. So we find Antarctica hole in Ozone depletion hole in Antarctica, but not in Arctic. We don't find such in the Arctic. There is a depletion in Antarctica, but not in the Arctic. If you see this region, so this is called as Arctic, and this is Antarctic. Antarctic. Now, why it is seen? One is because of the geology of Antarctica, which is different from Arctic. Geology, which is different from Arctic. Then second one is its surface regions, surface topography. Its surface topography, which is also different. Now, if you see Antarctica and Arctic, if you see Antarctica and Arctic, how its surface topographies are there. Antarctica is a continent. Antarctica is a continent. That is land area. Land area. And this land area is covered by ice deposit. Above Antarctica land, we find ice deposits are there. Ice deposits are there. And surrounding this Antarctica, water body is there. We find ocean is there. Ocean is there. Water body is there. This is the Antarctica part. We have a continent that is land area. Above the land, ice deposit, surrounded by the ocean. So a very different type of surface topography. If you take Arctic, Arctic is not a continent. It is a thick ice. It is a thick ice deposit. And above that ice, we find large depositions are there. And below the ice deposits, we don't find any land. Below the ice, we don't find any land. So here we find oceans are there. It is an ocean. And above the ocean, ice deposit is there. And this entire setup is surrounded by continent. It is surrounded by continent. That is land area. Land area. So hence their configurations are different. Their configurations are different. This is Antarctica and this is Arctic. Arctic has ocean, above that thick ice deposit surrounded by the land. And Antarctica is something like this. Now, because of its geological characters, because of such, the temperature in Antarctica is very much lesser than that of Arctic. So hence Antarctica are more colder than the Arctic. More colder than Arctic. Right. And because of that, in the Antarctica, the jet streams will be very strong. In the Antarctica, the jet streams will be very strong. It means they try to follow straight path. They try to follow the straight path. Where? In Antarctica. But in the Arctic, they are not as cold as Antarctica. So generally in the Arctic, the jet streams, they move in loops. We refer them as wavy. They move in loops. Wavy type. And sometimes we say that this develops a big loops. This develop a very big loops. Very big loop. where we find the cold air moves outside and the warm air moves inside. Warm air moves inside. Right. So generally we refer them as Rossby waves. Yes, we refer them as Rossby waves. Rossby means which develops the big loops. Which develops the big loops. And this is where we see in Arctic region predominantly rather than Antarctica. In Antarctica, they are straight path. Straight means less variations are there. So this is one aspect. This is one aspect why we find low temperature in Antarctica and not that low what we find in Antarctica, in Arctic, right? So Arctic low temperature, so it can reach to minus 45, minus 50, etc. But in Antarctica, it can reach to minus 80, minus 90 degrees, etc. It can reach to minus 80, minus 90 during winter season. And here in the Arctic during the winter season, it can reach up to minus 40, minus 50. This is some rough idea about the geology part of Arctic and Antarctic, right? Right. Now, apart from that, what are the chemical reactions you are talking about? So here, when you talk about the chemical reactions here, the Antarctica ozone depletion, ozone hole, is associated with three more factors there. One is the role of jet stream, the role of jet stream. Second one is what we refer them as polar vortex, and the third one is development of the polar stratospheric clouds, development of polar stratospheric clouds. Generally, we refer them as PSC. Now, don't confuse this PSC. They are non-rain bearing. They provide no rain. Non-rain bearing. Non-rain. They don't provide rainfall, and they develop only during winter season. Only during winter season condition. Winter season when the temperature is below minus 78. When the temperature is below minus 78 degree centigrade. Minus 78 degrees centigrade. No, where is the possibility of development of polar stratospheric clouds often and often? In Arctic or Antarctic? Where do you find the temperature which can reach to minus 78? Is it possible often in Arctic or Antarctic? Right. So it is in Antarctic because Antarctica is more colder. So these conditions we find more in Antarctica. We find this more in Antarctica because of low temperature perspectives. Right. Now, what is polar vortex? What is polar vortex? So if this is an Earth, so this is North Pole and this is South Pole. So in geography, you have heard about the poles are having high pressures. So North Pole will have high pressure. South Pole will also have high pressure. Right. So this is what you have studied. High pressures at the poles. At the poles, ground you are having high pressures because temperature is inversely proportional to pressure. As the temperature is low, pressure will be very high. So here, as the temperature is less, the pressure will be very high, right? So the temperature is very, very low, the pressure is very high near the ground. But above the ground, understand this, near the ground, it is having high pressure. That is near that. But at height, you don't have the high pressure. It will be having low pressure. So at the height, you will be having low pressure. So above the North Pole and above the South Pole, at height, at height, both areas at height, we find a cold wind, a cold wind which is rotating, cold wind which is rotating, and anything which rotates, we refer that as vorticity. Vorticity, rotating itself means vortex, vorticity or vortex, cold wind which is rotating. And this cold wind, which is rotating above the North Pole and South Pole with low pressure center, we refer this as polar vortex. So this is polar vortex of north, and this is polar vortex of the south. Polar vortex of north and polar vortex of south. So here, remember, polar vortex I have explained. Polar stratospheric cloud I have explained. It is formed here. This is troposphere. And this polar stratospheric polar vortex is developed in this areas. Polar stratospheric clouds. And this polar stratospheric cloud is associated with ozone depletion. We'll see that how it is seen. So it is where we have to understand how it is depleting. We'll see that tomorrow. So just understand that in the context of ozone depletion of Antarctica, the mechanism is the nature of jet stream. Either it can be strong jet stream or it can be weak jet stream. If the jet stream is weak, it will develop. If the weak jet stream, it will develop the Rossby waves. If it is strong, then it will be less moving. Now, where do you find the strong jet streams? Strong jet streams we will find in Antarctica, and wavy jet streams. Compared to wavy jet streams, you will find in Arctic. So please remember this. And tomorrow we will continue from where we have left. So this is purely your geography part. Right? So when we talk about the polar stratospheric clouds and ozone depletion, Yasmin, don't worry. Tomorrow I'll explain that how this polar stratospheric cloud and how it will affect ozone depletion. So polar stratospheric cloud is associated with ozone depletion. It means that when the polar stratospheric cloud dissociates, when it breaks, then only the ozone depletion takes place. And I told you that this ozone depletion, this polar stratospheric cloud is formed only under condition when the temperature is below minus 78. Right? So this is what you have to understand. In the context of something called as the ozone depletion. Is it clear? So river linkages, that's your part of geography where they talk about interstate river linking projects. Right? So if I get a time, then I'll try to complete that portion also. If I get a time, if time provides, then we will cover that part also. Don't worry. So this is something which you have to understand. Please revise that content. Please read them. Understand what are jet stream. Understand what is polar vortex. Understand what is polar stratospheric clouds. Based on this, ozone depletion in Antarctica is explained. So hence, the ozone depletion in Antarctica is unique. Ozone hole which is formed will be seen here. Is it clear? So I think we can conclude the class here, and we will continue from where we have left tomorrow. Till then, take care. Bye.